Hey, Friendo, Steve here.
Hey, Larson.
Welcome back to Going in Raw, the only pro wrestling podcast you need to be listening to. On today's episode, given that it is, of course, Wednesday, middle of the week, we've got our, oh, hey, you got coffee, I got coffee too. You know why? Because we're going to read some hot takes.
That's right. I wouldn't describe my coffee as hot, but it's not tepid either. It's somewhere in between.
Mine is, I had to microwave it because it was like leftover coffee from this morning.
Same.
And like, it doesn't stay on the thing, you know. I got to program that, I think.
Yeah, I think so. You can program how long it stays on versus automatically shuts off.
Let's go ahead and dive into these. Let's dive into these hot takes instead of discussing our coffee.
Let's do that. Patrick Cheeseman here. Hot take.
Cheeseman
Says Braun Breaker does not have enough to be a main eventer.
Investor. Cool.
Main inventor. Do you think Braun Breaker has what it takes to be the main inventor?
I desperately want him to be elevated to the main event scene because I feel like they desperately need some fresh young blood. And I saw it. Look, man, I saw one. I don't necessarily agree with this. But I also like that it's out there. I saw one WWE Raw review going up on YouTube that said that the headline was Braun Breaker has promo of the year. Now, that was kind of the look I gave as well.
Did they only watch one promo this year?
What do you think promo of the year was this year, dude?
There's a lot of contenders. I mean, Hangman, the one he did in Arena Mexico, was great.
Oh, the Spanish language
that was
one
amazing.
Loved. But I mean, that's just a demo. It was, look, content-wise, it was awesome.
Yeah.
But also, I was just really impressed with the guy who spoke really good
and
Spanish.
Then I could probably think, if I really put my thinking cap on,
okay,
which is this one, the bucket hat here.
Yeah.
I could probably think of a couple. I could probably think of 15 that were better in Braun Breakers, if not 25.
Hey, 25. Okay, 25. Oh, I don't know about 25. I thought it was really, really good, and I thought that for the first time, him being allowed the floor, if you will, to unload. You know, he hasn't been given a lot of these opportunities. For this to be his first big spotlight promo, I thought he did a damn good job, and I think that it indicates to me that his ceiling is incredibly high, and that, you know, if you give him the ball, he'll run with it really fast. And I think that once we see him with the title, I think it'll make all sorts of sense. We saw him carrying it not long ago because, you know, they sort of took it from Seth and they had to vacate it real quick. But, like, he looked so legit. I think the guy's got the wrestling chops. He needs to stop landing on his head. But I think he's got the wrestling chops. And I think, yeah, do it now. Fuck it. Yep. There were so many other dudes who clearly had the ingredients over the last 3 decades that Vince would, I mean, sometimes Vince would go to a gym, see Sid, and just put him in the main event of WrestleMania. Absent that, you know, there's plenty of dudes who Vince just sort of saw it. It was like, hey, let's go out there. And then, you know, guys like Batista, for example, who I've often felt, okay, I think Breaker has kind of a Batista level, you know, ceiling perhaps, which I think is a main event WrestleMania, main event level ceiling. You know, I think he's got the ingredients. You put him out there, you have him do it, and I think he'll perform. I think he's got the ingredients.
I think the potential's there. I don't know if I've necessarily seen it consistently put together. And that's what I need to see to really believe that day in and day out, he can perform at a top-tier level. Because I feel like there's been some times where there's been opportunities for him to showcase what he can do. For example, there's some backstage segments where, especially like the one where right after they kicked Seth out of the Vision, where he kicked Seth out of the Vision. Braun did that pretty much. And when Heyman was like, hey, let me take care of this. You know, hey, me politicking is going to go a lot further than you beating everybody up. And I felt like his performance, this is a very specific example.
No, it's a good one because I was curious what
performance in those I thought was a bit too laid back. He was kind of like, yeah, all right. And there wasn't, I feel like there should have been more there where it was like, all right, I'm going to trust you even though I disagree with you. I didn't feel like there was enough of that kind of dimension to his performance there. It just kind of seemed like he's like, all right, fine, that's cool, whatever.
I wonder how much. I mean, this is largely for the sake of conversation because I agree with you on that. I wonder how much of that is a function of creative versus, his performance. And could he have? Did he feel like he had the leeway to, if he was given the direction, hey, act like you don't care and you really don't want to be in this scene. No, how about act like this is a rehearsal?
Yeah, exactly.
Because you and I, that's what we said.
Yeah, there's been
it
a few
seemed like a
times
rehearsal.
over the course of this year where he's been in segments, usually backstage segments, where it seems like we'll film the rehearsal. That's what it seemed like.
I will say this. And, maybe I'm just, defending my point. It seems like when he's been given a full-throated direction, do this, he performs completely. It's entirely possible that that backstage scene might have been creatively a last-minute thing, unclear on what direction they wanted to go until they were actually there in the moment. In which case, I don't know that it's up to him as a guy who's not exactly a veteran, although he has been performing now for 4 years. If it's on him to make that decision.
But at the same time, I don't think it's necessarily not on him in the absence of creative direction to provide something. And if it's not what somebody wants, then they could tell him. But if it's a situation where they're like, here's your lines, and he goes and reads the lines. Every segment on TV should be important, not just to us as a viewer to follow the stories, but for the performers as well, because they got story beats they need to hit.
And I'm not saying he should be a guy who is performing to the degree that he's been a veteran for 5 years in the main event scene. I feel like you're kind of stacking him against guys who are already there, been there, and have been doing that successfully for a very long time.
I mean, to a certain degree, if I want him to seem like he fits in that scene, he needs to bring his A game every single segment he can. That's kind of my point, where you can't take a segment off in the absence of creative direction. And this isn't just specific to Braun Breaker. This is specific to anybody. If you want to be seen as a main eventer, you got to consistently perform at that level. Very rarely is there a segment on a wrestling TV that's kind of a throwaway segment. If you're a main eventer, every one of them matters. If you want us to believe in your story, if you want us to follow your story.
Well, when you're given like a dude like Logan Paul, who all of a sudden is supposed to come in and be the center of the vision, boy, that was weird.
It was weird.
That was an oddball thing. He was supposed to sit there and do nothing about that. So I do think that I'm going to put some of that on creative, but in terms of having it, I think he's got it. I think that it's just a matter of like, hey, get the title on him. Let's take a look at Braun Breaker from where he's at last night. And I see it in the guy.
You know what's probably going to happen? He'll probably win it on January 5th. His story has always been he reaches the top of the mountain. His inexperience costs him. He'll win it January 5th. He'll lose it back to Punk at WrestleMania. And he'll feud with Rollins over the summer. And then after that, I think that's when we'll see if he's really, really ready or not. He gets a trial run with the championship. He gets a couple huge profile feuds under his belt. And at that point, when he's on his own, not a part of the vision anymore, doesn't have Heyman probably, no Bronson Reed, certainly no Logan Paul. Let's see how he can stand on his own as a main event dude.
Boy, you were just fantasy booking the shit out of this. One thing that I do think he needs is a completely unproduced, done without any permission feud with Ric Flair. I think him cutting a promo on Ric Flair.
You just want him to hear him say two words, don't you?
Butt and sucker.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I do. I thought that was like one word.
I suppose it could be a compound word, yeah.
Compound, exactly.
Could be a compound word. Never really thought about it.
Let's move on to Ace Entertainment 1596, who's got a hot take, who says, yeah, LA Knight will upset Gunther and be seen as last opponent. What is this precog bullshit?
Nah.
Fantasy book here, unless your name is Larson.
Look.
Uh-oh. Say it straight to Ace Entertainment. Ace is the place.
Well, no, this isn't going to happen. Gunther's going to win.
Yeah.
Gunther's going to win. He's going to face Cena. I can see an upside in LA Knight getting the upset over Gunther and being Cena's last opponent.
Yeah, it's a better idea than Gunther.
In a lot of ways it is.
Won't be a better match, but
No, it wouldn't be a better match. And, at the end of the day, this could just come down to Cena wants to have a match with Gunther before he retires. I understand why. Gunther's one of the best wrestlers in the world. High-level competitors want to step in the ring opposite high-level competitors. Not to say LA Knight isn't. LA Knight has improved. His wrestling has improved a ton over the last year. His match with Jay on Raw, I thought, was really solid. Yeah. He works a quick pace. Apart from that bit where he, climbs up to the top, steps up, rope by rope to the top for the superplex. That could be a bit clunky, but also seems really hard. He's pretty smooth in the ring. I think from an in-ring perspective, he's there to be a main event dude. The crowd loves him. He cuts his stumbling promos, but that's kind of endearing because of how he does it.
And what he's been through.
Yeah.
People still to this day dig up LA Knight lore,
Yeah.
I think it was 2 months ago that they found a batch of
stock images.
Stock photos of him, Sean Richter.
Yeah.
Or Sean Ricker, I forget his name. But yeah, dude, I'm being sort of tongue in cheek when I say it's a better idea. I don't think there's a bad answer here. And I understand why they'd want that for Gunther. And Gunther absolutely deserves it because you could see what he did last night with on Raw this week, I should say, with Solo Sikoa, a guy who's not exactly known to be, big match guy. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, they had that crowd on their feet. Mm-hmm. There's some really good wrestling on Raw this week.
There was.
So I get that. And maybe there's an element of, because it was leaked out by the dirt sheets or whatever, even though when you look at the field, you see, it's going to be Gunther. There's a million reasons why, even if it wasn't leaked, we would kind of know it was Gunther. But maybe if the dirt sheets hadn't done that, it'd be a bit more interesting. But Gunther is the guy, and I guess I would much rather appreciate, this guy whose wrestling caliber is, off the charts is getting this big moment instead of somebody else. But yeah, everything you said about LA Knight is true. He's wildly over.
Yeah.
The guy worked his ass off.
Yeah.
There's there's an idea out there, perception out there that he might have been punished recently for holding up a sign. So yeah, I don't know. I will pop so hard if somehow, some way LA Knight wins.
Yeah.
I'm not expecting it.
No.
Part of me, I was kind of surprised that he beat Jay, even though it kind of made all the story sense in the world.
Yeah.
But when Jay hit that splash in the end, I was like, oh man, dang it. And then LA Knight gets up and he does the thing. He did the crucifix pin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't think he's going to win. But boy, oh boy, I'd love to see it. If for no other reason than it would be a surprise.
Yeah.
I like surprises.
Yeah, surprises would be nice on the road to Cena's last match. That'd be great.
Yeah. Anyways, we have a sponsor for the show this week, so we're going to talk about them before we get into these other hot takes.
This episode of Going in Raw is sponsored by Aura Frames. Every year, it's the same thing with me, with Larson. I try my best to find thoughtful gifts for everyone. Then I wait till the last minute so that when I do go shopping, all I see are empty shelves. So guess what everyone gets? Gift cards. But if you're a last-minute shopper like me, I have a solution, an Aura frame. Last year, I gifted my parents, who are always tough to shop for, an Aura Carver mat frame preloaded with pictures of the family, and it might be the best gift I've ever given them.
Yeah, man. I actually gifted myself. Wait a second. Before I talk about my Aura frame back there with my dog, how many of those pictures that you preloaded for your parents were of Steve here?
Take a guess.
Should be all.
0.
Really? Your dad really likes me. You should have put at least 1 or 2 of me in there.
He's all right with you.
Selfish. That's a weak gift, Larson.
Top-notch gift.
It is a top-notch gift. I gifted myself an Aura frame, Larson. No pictures of you, but all pictures of my dog in there because I lost her last year. She passed away, and I have her right here next to her ashes and in her little shrine. And the centerpiece is an Aura frame with nothing but pictures of my dead dog. With Aura Frames, you can effortlessly share unlimited photos and video by downloading the Aura app and connecting to Wi-Fi. Plus, each Aura frame ships in a premium gift box that's ready to put under the tree.
You can't wrap togetherness, but you can frame it. For a limited time, save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver mat frames, named #1 by Wirecutter, by using promo code RAW at checkout.
That's AURA frames.com, promo code RAW. This deal is exclusive to listeners, and frames sell out fast. So order yours now to get it in time for the holidays. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply.
Next hot take here from Hector Guzman says, WWE is feeling stagnant because it's trying to chase an outside credibility it'll never achieve, and that action itself is a slap in the face to regular fans, i.e. the ESPN deal.
So this is a variation of a take that I've sometimes pushed back on. However, framed like this is pretty interesting. The idea that WWE chasing all the dollars is what's compromising their creativity, and their creative is, if we accept the premise that WWE isn't exactly the most compelling thing in the world, which given the response to Survivor Series, I think is a pretty accurate one.
Yeah.
However, framed in the way like it is here, they're trying to chase we know that Triple H really desperately wants, and I think I'm not saying this is a negative, but he wants credibility with wrestling. It's why he did the Unreal, why he's, seemingly really huge on the Unreal show.
Yeah.
Where it's saying, hey, after decades and decades, and even, it's funny because even in, the mid 90s or whenever it was, when Vince had, he was on trial and, he was copping to how it's all done and it's all fake. And even the Super Bowl ad in 99, where, Vince basically, he said, get it? Which is as obvious, hey, we're fun production, we're narrative fiction, I guess. And it's all a big show. We're not acting like it's real, but still, because of the groundwork that had been laid in the industry, protecting the business and whatnot, the stigma, the fake stuff persisted, and Triple H is really trying to put that in a coffin. Do you think that endeavor specifically is leading to the creative being lackluster?
I can't say with a high degree of certainty one way or the other, but I think the possibility exists. After I saw this hot take, I went back and looked through our star ratings for every WWE show this year to see, because in my mind, WrestlePalooza kind of feels like a fulcrum point in the year. Of course, that's the first show under the ESPN deal. That show was not very good. And whether that was because it was rushed, because they announced it, fairly shortly before it happened to counter program AEW, who had All Out going on the same day. Whether post WrestlePalooza star ratings were drastically different, worse than prior to, inconclusive is the best I can describe it. I didn't, punch a bunch of numbers in the calculator, but scanning through, I wouldn't be surprised if, in terms of pay-per-view, specifically, they have adopted a philosophy to keep things relatively simple on pay-per-view to make the pay-per-view shows maybe more enticing to a broader audience.
I'll go one further. There is a thing. God, what was the show where somebody was having? It was. I forget what it was, but there was a show about like a Hollywood writer, and they had a new show coming out on one of the streamers, and it drops, and within 8 hours you couldn't even see, it wasn't on the front page. You had to like search very specifically what it was.
Yeah.
I want to say it was Hacks, but I don't think it was Hacks.
I know what you're talking about though.
Yeah. And it was Barry. It was Barry. It happened on Barry.
That's a bummer. That's a good show.
No. It was a storyline.
Oh yeah.
On Barry.
Yeah, it was
his
girlfriend. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was, well, the algorithm, showed that people weren't, and so it didn't even give it time to pick up steam. It's my long way of saying I wonder if there are algorithmic requirements that ESPN is asking for based off of their streaming app, based off of some data they have. I have no idea, and I think that doing that for the very first show would be kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
And but stranger things have happened. They have billion-dollar deals, multiple distribution outlets, and you would think maybe sometimes those demands would get in the way, or would factor into creative, and maybe some of those demands, and I think you've said this before, might make them risk averse, which might lead to, well, not the most compelling television in the world, because they're not taking risks. And there might be some amount. This is another thing to consider, because for me, the fulcrum point of this year was the WrestleMania Night 2 main event.
Yeah.
Because it was like, oh God, The Rock really kind of fucked him by not making himself available. I don't know, they fucked themselves.
Yeah, I think the situation where in an attempt to sell tickets for Elimination Chamber, they put themselves in a situation where they couldn't pay off something they set up.
Right. And maybe, just maybe, the blowback from that caused Triple H to be more, and Nick Khan to be more, to hold back.
Yeah, risk averse.
On big moments like that, for fear they might get shit on even more, I mean, I still maintain, I go by my theory that this shit is just hard to do. Like, I feel like, and I always go back to your assertion that, like, every band has at least one hit in them.
Yeah.
I think every wrestling promoter has, like, I don't even know how long, but has a certain stretch.
Has a good run in them.
Has a good run in them. And then it just doesn't, like for AEW, maybe it was 2021. And now, hey, I really enjoy AEW, but it's not the most compelling thing week to week in the world.
No, it's not. But they've settled into a decent groove right now. Yeah.
The characters are fun to watch. And WWE's kind of the same. It's like, hey, there's some good wrestling. There's some good characters. These performers know their characters. But it's not terribly compelling stuff that makes me think, oh God, I gotta watch this.
Yeah.
And I maintain that maybe that's as good as it can get until we get like Brian Gewirtz in there or something like that. And if Brian Gewirtz gets in, he'll have a good 2.5, 3 year chunk that's like, hey, you're really cooking on all cylinders here. Maybe wrestling needs more showrunners.
Needs more turnover.
Maybe. I mean, how long with the Attitude Era? What? Like Vince, the team of Vince Russo, Cornette.
Oh, that
guys,
was only
whatever,
really
Pritchard.
from probably, I'd say, peak, if you will, mid '97 till Russo left in late '99.
Yeah,
basically a year and a half.
Yeah,
maybe 2 years.
People's claim that like Raw in 2003 was really good. There's WWE 2016 versus WWE 2017.
Oh,
it's
night and day.
Way different.
Yeah.
Way different.
Yeah. I wonder how much of that is turnover. It seemed like throughout at least the 2010s, there was a lot of turnover on the writing staff.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And maybe there was a period where everybody was kind of on the same page, coming up with good ideas, and those ideas were getting through to Vince, and he was approving them. And so we have a stretch where it was really good, and then maybe something happens that sours the Vince on everything, and he decides, all right, I'm tearing this up, but I'm exerting more of my influence on the creative now.
Well, in 2009 is when he decided, I think, to go PG.
Yeah.
And according to Brian Gewirtz, it was more like G. They're like, we can't do anything.
Yeah.
Like, he's not allowing anything to get through.
Yeah.
Which, clearly put them in a bind.
Oh, yeah. We got another hot take here from Chico Sweet 666. Says CM Punk needs a heel turn to save his life, man. His promos have gone stale. This is not my burner, by the way.
Chico Sweet 666 Larson burner.
From anti-authority badass babyface to Disney happy to be here cheap hometown pop punk.
That's the thing, though. Once you get older, being the railing, the anti-authority guy, I don't know the kind of legs that has.
Punk's got enough goodwill. He could do that. He could still do that. That was peak Phil in WWE.
Yeah, but dude, you're not gonna rail again. Like, it's not. I don't think it's genuine. Back then, the reason why it worked is because it was genuine.
Yeah.
Punk has always worked best. I maintain this. Punk has always worked best when he's legitimately kind of unhappy. You know, I was born with a cord wrapped around my neck because they've been trying to kill me since the day one.
Yep.
Yeah, because he fucking hated being in that place. You know, sitting there, you know, you're glad handing yes men.
With a giant infection growing in his back. Yeah.
Yeah, that's Phil. Oh boy. If he's upset, he ain't got nothing to be upset about right now.
Yeah, he needs that chip on his shoulder to do his best work.
Even, I'll be honest with you, even I've gone back and I've watched like the Straight Edge Society stuff. Besides he's always had the charisma, even when he was like a teenager saying completely out of pocket shit on the indies. He always had the charisma. This is why he's able to do acting and stuff. He's got that thing. But yeah, like, I don't know what it's going to take to get, you know, I think people more and more, look, number one, he's like LA Knight. He goes in there, he gets the biggest pops. When he's not there, they still chant his name.
Yeah.
He ain't going to go bad guy anytime soon.
No.
Might get to the point where, you know, he wants to because of a creative, you know, desire to do so. But even when he does, don't you think it's more likely that he's going to end up like Judgment Day Edge?
Oh, in terms of the heel turn?
Yeah, in terms of like, well, this doesn't really seem all that genuine. I'm not saying he's going to lead a cult, although he could lead a cult.
Could.
That's one way to do it.
What's
the thing he can do that could be bad guy Phil? Here's the thing. If he turns on TKO right now, like, the fan base loves WWE. Or, sorry, the people that are there, the general fan base kind of likes. I don't think the general fan base is ready to turn on TKO.
Well, I don't know if you need to do a full-on CM Punk heel turn. I just think he just needs to be something more than happy to be there. You know? Some dimension, some edge. Not Adam Copeland.
But the No Country for Old Men thing is so played out. What else is there?
I don't know, because here's the thing. In AEW, from when he showed up to up until the Hangman feud, I thought he did some good stuff. There was a little bit of happy to be there, but there was also a lot of, all right, I need to prove I can still do this at the highest level possible. You know? Yeah. That was the chip on his shoulder.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like he had, like, there's no chip on his shoulder now. There's none. And he needs that.
You know.
And whatever he's got to do to find that chip, he needs to do.
I hate to bring this up. Maybe he just needs a good old authority to rail against. Hey, in that post-show thing, Triple H was talking about everybody politicking backstage.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like, he needs. Here's the thing. You and I have said it a million times over. Baby faces, especially with their champions, but CM Punk walked in kind of a champion. You know, like, that's the thing. He didn't need the title to be kind of a champion of WWE. Baby faces, they need the odds stacked against them.
They do.
They need the cards stacked against them.
They do.
And until they find a way to get those odds stacked against them, which, yeah, sometimes is administrative. It is the company. It is the authority.
Yeah.
Right now they got two nice guy GMs who do a terrific job. And I'm not saying you do the whole, but, like, I don't know. Maybe you do 4D chess and you wrap Unreal in it. You know?
Who knows?
Maybe you do something like that. I don't know.
I mean, it seemed like that was the plan for the Vision, with Seth leading it, was, all right, we're stacking the odds against Punk.
Yeah.
That seemed to be it.
Yeah. But you know how that plays out so often, dude. It's like when you do it with a faction and not people who have, like, actual, it's like, okay, so he beats the henchman in the faction and then he beats the big bad in the faction.
Yeah.
And it's like, who kind of cares?
Yeah. It's so
I feel like there was a lot more they could have done. There's a lot more they could have done with Heyman and his relationship with Punk.
Yeah.
That they just didn't do.
They didn't do that, no. Next hot take here from Nicholas Grosskirth says, Logan Paul is a better fit for the Vision than Seth Rollins.
I'll be honest, with the way it was framed on Raw, I kind of agree with this. With Braun at the 4 and then Logan, going for the mid-card title, I think that works better. If they make Logan into kind of the guy who, if they make Logan into the guy who that we saw on whatever the Advantage SmackDown or Raw that was on, where he was backstage and everybody was kind of ignoring him, and he was the guy that they sort of like, no, you're going to be the beat dummy that goes out there. I mean, it would probably babyface him up, but if he ends up being kind of like, to a degree, the Sami Zayn of the Bloodline, where he's in there, but he's kind of in over his head, and he's kind of afraid of pissing off Braun Breaker. I think there's stuff there they could work with.
Yeah.
It's a different thing than Seth
it's
Rollins,
a much
obviously.
different dynamic where, yeah.
But I kind of like, dude, I like Rollins and everything. Don't get me wrong. But the idea of him coming out and dropping another Vision promo for another episode of Raw. Ha, ha, ha. What did I tell you?
Yeah.
Okay, dude.
Yeah.
I've heard that so many fucking times.
It's a bummer they didn't think of some other route to go with all this post-WrestleMania than just Seth Rollins has a faction. You know what I mean? Because Heyman aligning with Seth seemed seismic at the time.
It did, yeah. Yeah.
And heck, even when he recruited Braun and Bronson. Oh, this is interesting. This is obvious. The start of Braun Breaker's main event push. This could do for him what Evolution did for Orton and Batista. But shortly thereafter, just whatever momentum they had was pissed away.
They just stood like they just became henchmen.
They became henchmen.
Yeah.
And it just seemed like pretty formulaic heel faction stuff. And whatever, sea change moment that seemed to be at WrestleMania just kind of seemed as more business as usual. Just different, performers cast in the same old roles.
Yeah.
Rather than really trying to push the boundaries of those tropes to do something different.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
Next up, Parsath. Says Drew
of the Hill People.
It's Lothar. Drew McIntyre should have gone to AEW when his contract expired. With his mind and excellent character work, he'd have killed it with Hangman and Swerve. Now, regardless if you think he should have gone to AEW, I agree with the second part of this, that he's the type of performer that I think would absolutely thrive in AEW. Without a doubt. Because I think he's got a good creative mind.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I still maintain it's a weird fit. I think you run into the Bobby Lashley problem, where it's like, how is this guy...
How can anybody beat this dude?
How is this guy not world champion like right now? How does he not come in and just absolutely murder these, 5'11" dudes? I think there probably I think there definitely would have been some really cool stuff. But like, I don't know. It's funny. I love AEW. But like, some dudes just fit. Some dudes just fit better in AEW. Some dudes just fit better in WWE. And Drew McIntyre, my God, he's a giant amongst other really big dudes. You put him in AEW, it's like, well, this isn't terribly,
You're trying to tell me a 3-month feud with Lance Archer doesn't interest you?
I mean, like, what can you do that makes sense for him not to be world champion immediately? You know what I mean? Doesn't make any sense.
You have him be world champion immediately then. I don't think there's necessarily a downside to that. And you have build him up as this
No, there's a downside.
Unbeatable force, and then you build somebody up, a babyface up to beat him.
Yeah, I don't know. The whole trope, it just screams TNA. A guy, a kind of a big-ish name from WWE coming over, then immediately just sort of slap the title on him.
Well, I mean, so long as you don't do the bitter promo preceding that.
You got to do the bitter promo.
Well, then that does reek of TNA.
Oh man, yeah. It's just like, oh, they weren't gonna, because here's the thing. Whenever that happens, it's they weren't gonna give you the big push in WWE, so you came over here and they decided to do it, like completely scrapping everybody they already had in AEW. You just stick it on the guy who just came over from the bigger promotion. It always smells like that.
It
always
like,
just comes
reeks
off
a bit
like
of desperation.
That.
Yes, I understand that.
Yeah, like you landed the cute girl. Now you're giving her everything you got.
Yeah. Peter Kefalos, hot take
What a great
here,
name.
says the women's tag division is the best booked division in all of WWE right now. Tons of main event talent, and they all have great chemistry, which leads to compelling stories and matches.
Isn't it funny how like they'll sort of circulate what they actually give a shit about?
Yeah.
Because this is 1,000% correct.
At
Like,
this-
and we saw it.
Yeah, at this juncture,
In
at
the
this
main
point in
event.
time, it is 1,000% correct. For a while, it was the women's division on SmackDown.
Yes, right. Yeah.
It tends to be whenever they have titles or characters that have a lot of people orbiting those titles or characters. And you have this interaction of all these different performers, and you get to explore the dynamics. What we always say.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff and storytelling in general is exploring dynamics between characters and the tensions that arise thereof.
Well, like all of the teams formed in a pretty organic way over time.
It wasn't like new champions crowned. It's what it was for a while. New champions crowned. Two people decide to form a team to challenge the champions.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how it was forever with especially the women's tag titles.
Now, out of all the teams right now, who's going to take those titles off of Asuka and Kairi? What's your prediction on that? Oh, great prognosticator. So saith Larson.
You know, storyline wise, it probably makes the most sense for it to be Rhea and Io. Because they haven't exactly had the full payoff from the start of the feud.
God, I really want it to be Lyra and Bailey. I feel like they're so funny together. But like all these teams are really good
I
together.
know.
Part of me thinks Judgment Day too.
Yeah.
Because if like with Liv back, it really, and I love that makeup of the faction. We talked about that on Raw. How like their lead person is going after the women's world title.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Yeah.
And she gave the tag title back to Roxanne. Said, no, you guys are going to go after that. I love that. That's
Yeah, it was
great.
good. It's great too because
There's like no bad options.
there's not, but just in terms of, again, the dynamics between Liv and Roxanne, you think, oh, this could be tense. And one of the first things Liv does, so like at the beginning of Raw, we didn't really talk about this. You know, she gets out of the car with Dom, and she's saying hi and hugging members of Judgment Day. I think she shook Roxanne's hand, and she was much colder to Finn than she was to anybody else.
Oh, that tension was thick.
Yeah.
And we didn't even get audio on that.
I know.
Yeah.
So for her at the end of the show to say, I'm not, it is in one sense an olive branch to Roxanne, but also establishing the pecking order within Judgment Day.
Yeah.
With Liv saying, I'm going after the top title in my division. You can be the tag champion. But also, I want you to be tag champion.
Yeah. 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 You're going to benefit this group.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's surprising because at first you think, oh, it's gonna be a silly Roxanne is trying to get with Dom thing, and Liv's gonna come back, and it's gonna be all petty bullshit. It's like, no, man, Liv's got a plan, and she is putting herself. She literally did take the Judgment Day. She ain't part of Judgment Day. She took the Judgment Day, and now she's leading the damn thing.
Yep.
And the question is it gonna blow up before? I do love the idea of a perpetual faction.
Yeah, I do too.
That's why Bullet Club, House of Torture. It's all great.
It's all great. Yeah, exactly.
Next hot take is from Jason Sear White. Says they should have just broke up the New Day instead of turning the meal. It hasn't really worked, and they're stuck in the same spot as they were last year at this time.
I don't think that's necessarily an indictment of the heel turn itself because the heel turn was fantastic.
Ooh, it was awesome.
It was so well executed. They didn't do anything afterwards. They just didn't do anything. Now it was a situation when they turned.
They were in the cycle when they weren't paying attention to the men's tag team division.
That's 1,000% it. For a long time, their segments were during commercial breaks on Raw. As soon as that heel turn happened, they should have contended for the tag titles right away. You put the tag titles on them right after this. They get the change of attitude, and it leads to success. That's what they should have done.
Yeah.
Book them in interesting segments, have them do fun
that's the
stuff.
thing.
But they
That's
just
the
were not
thing.
given the tag division that amount of spotlight at the time.
No, they were just in like a division with just them, and you can't
the War
really
Raiders,
do
that
much
was
with
it.
that. And the War Raiders, yeah. Oh man, here we go. Here comes some fun hot takes. I like this section of the show. Towards the finish, here we go. Dad Schoolboy says The Undertaker versus Sid at WrestleMania 13 is so overhated. Currently watching it, and it was pretty good by the standards of that time.
Steve, you
What
know
else
me.
was on that show? Wasn't that the same one that Bret Hart and Steve Austin
Yeah.
had, like a 5-star match?
Yeah.
I think that's pretty good.
WrestleMania 13 is not a good WrestleMania, and you know me.
Yeah, number one Sid guy.
Sid's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Granted, I have not watched this match in a while. Been a few years.
Did we ever do a thing on this?
I don't know if we've
Like a
done a
retro
thing on
thing?
WrestleMania 13.
We should.
It's like a 23-minute match. There's no reason it needs to be that long.
Yeah.
I will say this. If
Well, it's
Sid,
the main event of WrestleMania.
if Sid managed to wrestle a 23-minute match with poop in his pants,
Yeah.
then that's a 5-star effort right there.
I mean, it was, what's the alternative, of course? Go home as soon as, like, he gets a dribble of poopy in his pants?
I mean, you could,
You know, you're 5
depending on
minutes
how
in.
far into the match you were, you're like, hey, Taker, we got to take this home.
Taker, give me a tombstone. Are you kidding me? Nose to your duty? I don't think so. You're getting a submission move.
Oh, just give him a choke slam, I guess.
I'm assuming he gave him a fucking, was he doing choke slams back
Yeah,
then?
yeah.
I assume he gave him a tombstone in the end.
I believe so.
Jesus. Could you imagine? Oh, poor guy. Did
Um,
Undertaker really win that match in the end?
I got to rewatch it. I guess the caveat there is pretty good by the standards of that time.
Yeah.
We're talking early 1997.
Yeah.
This is, well before the Attitude Era was in full effect. We started to see that kind of permeate summer of 97 a bit more. But if you juxtapose this match with Bret and Stone Cold, there's really no comparison.
Yeah. But I mean, and also like the standards of the time, wasn't also Triple H versus Warrior on this one?
No, that was on the previous one. That was 12.
What year this was 97?
Yeah.
Jesus, this was 97.
Yeah.
God damn.
It just seems like from a whole other era.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think if you look at the roster on this WrestleMania versus what it was just 1 year later, I think there's something like 20% retention or something
Yeah.
like that. It's like really low, the number of people
Yeah.
who are still around.
Yeah.
Yeah, the standards were not. Vince was really just holding it together with just the bare minimum.
Yeah.
He didn't have a lot to work with, and WCW is absolutely killing it. I mean, hey, dude, I wouldn't be opposed if we need some filler for the rest of the year. I wouldn't mind doing WrestleMania 13, worst Mania of all time? Question mark as the title.
That's something to consider.
I mean, the current one that we the Crown Jewel one is doing better than the Halloween Havoc one. It'll get to a decent number
Yeah.
because that's what we care about.
That is.
Views. Did Sid shit his pants? That's the title.
Poopiest WrestleMania ever?
That's just juvenile. Did Sid shit his pants? That's the one.
And that's less juvenile. That's because he used the word shit instead of poopy.
I mean, kind of, yeah. I mean, poopy is like, what are you in a 6, 7? Like that's for kids. That's for kids. You know what I love? Now that we're in the deep waters of the show,
Sure.
I can tangent. All right, tangentialize. My kids' school. This is brilliant. They are trying to. They are going all in on the 6-7 meme. I think in an effort to kill it.
That could be.
Because when you make it something the school is doing, when you're making it something the authority, when the man is doing it, it becomes less counterculture.
It does.
And so I was like, what's your homework? Yes, last night I was like, hey, Ben, what do you got for homework tonight? She's like, 6-7. I'm like, what do we have for homework tonight? She's like, look. And it's like it was like a math fill in the blank thing. That's all 6-7 somehow. I didn't really look at it too deep. But and then before Thanksgiving break, they had a big school assembly thing where they did a big quiz thing that was all based in 6-7.
That's
And
interesting.
I was like, that's smart. They're trying to kill it
Yeah.
by overexposing, by
embracing it.
oversaturating
Yes.
and embracing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because at this point, we're watching Fringe at night because we watch Fringe every night. And like, I got to pump my TV volume way up because these streamers put their shit out really low.
Yeah.
And then, she starts saying, dude, put it at 6.7. I'm like, it works better at 6.8.
But it has to be at
6.5.
6.7 because that's the meme.
That's the meme. But
Yeah.
I'm waiting. I think it's going to die soon. So I think you're good.
All right.
I think it's going to die soon.
Yeah. We'll see.
Next up, Ali Selke. Ali Selke says, I'm saying this as a kid that grew up with the 2010s era of WWE. Oh my God, kids watch that in 2010?
I guess so.
Says, going back and watching the old WWF era, Sid was okay. Sid was a more entertaining champion compared to Shawn and Brett. His charisma and seemingly nonsensical promos would glue me to the screen way more than anything else Shawn and Brett did. I didn't look at the notes before. I rarely look at the notes because we all know now who puts these notes together. So here we go.
See, I would agree with this take.
Yeah.
Then the bell rings.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look,
Yeah.
as
And a good power bomb.
great power bomb. Sid was, without a doubt, one of the most charismatic performers of his era. He did not get by in his wrestling skill because that was fairly minimal. So he had to be incredibly charismatic. He had presence like few people have ever had in this business.
God damn it, pal.
He was, 6'8", 300 pounds, all muscle?
I think he might have been closer to 6.
Gosh darn it.
Nothing beats yesterday when we were Survivor Series when you said, how many milliseconds do I delay it? And I looked it up and it was literally 167.
167, yeah, I know.
Sorry, continue on.
So,
Big dude, Jack dude.
not just huge jack dude. There's been plenty of huge jack dudes in the history of wrestling that didn't really accomplish much. He had charisma. He had presence. He got by on that exclusively. So long as the bell didn't ring, there's no matches. Yeah, I'd watch anything Sid did because that was his strength, was that aspect of performance. He could occasionally put on, decent matches with the right opponent. He wasn't going to carry anybody to a good match by any means. But yeah, I'll always put over Sid in terms of his charisma. Absolutely. His promos were great. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the guy clearly had that weird camera thing where you just can't look away from him. And yet, I feel like maybe because he moved around so often, which added to his lore for like real wrestling fans.
Yeah.
But I wonder if that sort of precluded him from. And yet, he moved around so much, and yet he just randomly would find himself in WrestleMania main events.
I know. He'd show up somewhere within months, be champion.
Right. Yeah. And it's like you see it. And I wonder if he stayed in one place, if maybe his legacy score would be much higher, because he did move around a lot.
I kind of feel like him moving around a lot maybe enhances his legacy. Here's somebody that no matter what is not willing to sacrifice things that were important to him. Softball.
Did he miss like all of 1998?
Yeah.
like that's the most Sid thing to do. He would always move to the place where like it was already not very good. It's like he went to WWE. He left right before its boom period.
Yeah. Yeah.
And was gone during WCW's boom period.
Yeah, and they went to WCW when it was on the wane. Yeah. Again, this is all stuff that I feel like builds up Sid's the interest level of him as a performer.
It's the most going in Raw wrestler.
Yeah, I know.
Because it's like, how do you miss out on so much?
I know. I mean, he still did really well for himself.
And so do we.
So maybe a perfect one-to-one analogy there.
I think so, man. I think so.
Next hot take here from the True Kid Goku says, Going in Raw is not the only wrestling podcast we should be listening to.
We don't say that. We say you're the only pro wrestling podcast you need to be listening to. Because we give you all the stuff you need to hear during the week, including opening up to the friendos to talk about what stories they want us to talk about. So in that regards, we are absolutely the only pro wrestling podcast you need to be listening to. Now, are we the only pro wrestling podcast you should be listening to? No, there's a lot of great ones out there. I know he's a very controversial figure, but lately, if I'm up late at night drawing and I don't feel like listening to music, sometimes I'll pop on Cornette Because the guy's a great storyteller.
Yeah, he is.
He really is.
A
I
good
don't agree with a
storyteller.
lot of what he
No,
has
I
to
don't
say
agree
about
with
current wrestling.
Much what he has to say about wrestling either. No.
But his stories are so good. I understand why he is like the top 2 podcasts in the game. So yeah, I that's a really good one.
I'll say this: should and need are kind of synonymous. Kinda. Not maybe like the strongest synonyms, but in the ballpark.
I mean, they kind of like point in the same direction, sure.
Yeah.
But it's like, what do you need to survive?
Should gives you an out. You don't have to, but you should.
Right,
do
that's
whereas
a huge
need is
that's
a requirement.
a big caveat. That's a big caveat right there. That is a big caveat.
If anything, should is a bit of a softer caveat than need, which is more of a requirement.
It's like, hey, if all you want is the info and some good analysis and some unparalleled chemistry, nobody could say that. Nobody could say they got chemistry better than us because we've known each other way too long.
Yeah.
Then we're the only one you need to listen to. But Deadlock is great.
Yeah.
Love those Deadlock dudes.
Great.
But you listen to Deadlock, what are you going to get? You're going to get a great review of a WCW from the year 2000, which is highly entertaining. But that's like a 25-year-old show.
Yeah.
So,
we do the
that's
current
what you
stuff.
want. If that's what you want, then that's probably the only run you need to be listening to.
Yeah.
But if you want to be up to date on the current stuff, then that's sort of baked into the premise. So yeah, Deadlock, absolutely,
Great.
1,000%. They're great.
Great.
What else is out there?
I know Brian
want-
Brian Zane doesn't necessarily do podcasts. He does good.
He don't do podcasts. This is a question about podcasts.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say he does good work.
He does great work. Love Brian Zane.
Great.
Who else? Who else do we like? I mean, we like a lot of people.
Yeah, we do like a lot of people.
Cultaholic's always good. Wrestle Talk is always
great.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of good stuff out there. There's
There
a
is.
bunch of stuff I don't even know about. I look at let's see where we're at. What a great time to look and see where we're at in the podcast charts.
There we go.
Apple. It's like on speed dial here. Look at this. Cornette's number 1. Pritchard's number 2. Pritchard's a lot less need / should
Pritchard
these days.
barely is on as JBL most of the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I like JBL. Busted Open. Yeah, I don't know about that.
It's got your dude on there.
Oh, I love Solid Monster. He's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does have my guy in it. Let's see here. We're at number 16. But when you only get podcasts that have no wrestlers in it, 1, 2. There's only like 2 above us.
Solid Monster.
And
Who else?
And Deadlock. So only one is a non-fan. I'm sorry, is a non-wrestler that covers the current product. And sometimes we're above Solid Monster. We trade spots on the podcast charts. So, I mean, by that account, right here.
Definitely should listen. Ozzy here with the hot takes. Talk movies. Aliens is by far James Cameron's best film.
Is it crazy to you that so many people, like Avatar's made so much money, and yet I don't know anybody
Who really gives a shit about it? This next movie's going to make a ton of money, but I don't know if I haven't met anybody who ever described Avatar as their favorite movie.
Like Titanic was a sea change, so to speak. That honestly was not meant as a pun, and then it turned into one. So I guess not intended. But from cinematically, what he invested in it, and then it not surprising, it made as much money as it did. It was like the perfect storm. Not the movie, The Perfect Storm.
He didn't do that one.
And a sinking iceberg is not a storm, so no pun there.
No.
If there was a storm, a lot more people probably would have died.
Oh yeah.
Because iceberg plus storm,
Way worse.
nobody's getting out on those rafts or those planks of wood.
No, all the rafts probably would have capsized because of the
Right.
surf.
But then along come Avatar. And it's like, okay, you get your little environmental story. That's great. I'm all for that.
Same.
Star Trek 4. I think Star Trek 4 was the first thing that taught me, reduce, reuse, recycle, or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And And now like it's still the environment's still shitty. So explain that one. I don't know.
And I think my first awareness of that kind of stuff was we had an issue of Popular Science at home, and it had on the cover was about the hole in the ozone layer.
Yeah.
I think that predated Star Trek 4.
Yeah.
That was like my first awareness that, oh, wow, humans damaging Earth.
Right.
And they didn't stop.
Yeah. I did my part. I tried.
What did you do?
Well, try to, I recycle. I don't know what the fuck else am I supposed to do?
I got a hybrid.
And is the Earth better now?
No, it's worse now than it was in the 80s.
It's absolutely worse now.
Way worse.
Well, I don't know about worse. Like the whole smog. Anyways, Avatar, I don't know about that shit. Aliens, do you think that's Cameron's best work?
Personally, I think I'm most fond of the first Terminator movie.
Yeah.
It had the high concept stuff, but it also had that kind of DIY aesthetic still. Mm-hmm. And it felt like there was urgency. There was hunger there to establish himself as a filmmaker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I appreciate all that he's done to advance technology in film production. But something about that, the Terminator, the very first Terminator movie, I think that's still my favorite of his.
Yeah. So, like, he did True Lies, didn't he?
Yeah.
What else did he do?
The Abyss.
The Abyss, I remember that.
Terminator 2, of course.
Yeah. I think,
forgetting a lot.
I'm not like a big James Cameron guy. I actually did relatively recently, like in the past year, because I've never seen Aliens all the way through.
Oh, yeah.
And I tried to watch it, and I just got kind of bored, I think. And I don't know why. Maybe I was, sometimes you're just not in the mood or whatever, but I tried. Mm-hmm. I was like, hey, you know what? I've been vaguely interested in the Aliens lore, and so let me check this one out. Everybody says it's so great. And it's like, I'm sure, like, if I was in the right circumstances, I'd sit down and give it a good go, and I'm sure it's great. I'm sure it's an awesome movie. But, like, I think I'm just not, like, a big Cameron guy.
Yeah.
Which is wild because, like, he's one of the most successful filmmakers ever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm not. I will say this. I know I've heard a lot of people say that Aliens is on par with the first Alien.
They're completely different movies.
They are, yeah. I mean, even I was able to gather that from...
Alien is a horror movie. Aliens is an action movie.
Yeah. And I'm more into, like, the tension of that first one.
Same.
Because you pop that on, and it's, like, hard to look away.
Yeah.
The second one, I was able to look away pretty easily.
Yeah.
Not saying it's a bad movie at all. But yeah, I don't know. Titanic is probably his best movie, to be honest with you. It's a filmmaking feat.
It is a filmmaking feat. That's only one aspect of filmmaking. It's storytelling and the story and the script writing and stuff. That's where I feel like it falls short.
True Lies, I think, is a good movie. I mean,
I've seen
like one scene over and over again in that movie.
It's got some entertaining bits, yeah.
Yeah, it does.
I tried to watch The Abyss when I was younger. Couldn't get through it. You know what it was? I remember this. It was a double feature of Weekend at Bernie's and The Abyss.
I feel like that's a movie that could perfectly complement each other.
Well, I mean, if you want to get some lulls in, some laughs, you watch Weekend at Bernie's, and if you want to fall asleep, then you put The Abyss on right afterwards.
If they ever get to the point where, like, Sora Generation 8, you can actually combine movies, those are two that I think would be awesome.
There you go.
You got Bernie going down there in the water. Abyss, the thing I remember about The Abyss is when they, like, shot themselves with whatever that oxygen stuff was so they could breathe underwater.
Yeah.
And it made me feel so claustrophobic. I'm like, how does that make it? That doesn't make any sense.
Mm-mm.
They're just going to drown.
Yeah.
But then they didn't. They were fine.
They were fine.
Yeah.
They just had to get used to it, and then it was all good.
Wasn't Ed Harris in that movie?
Yep.
Okay, so I do remember that. Okay.
Last hot take here from Ronan the Analyst said the alt-rock scene of the early 90s was better than the Seattle grunge scene. Bands like Pixies, Sonic Youth, Smashing Pumpkins were doing more interesting things than their grunge counterparts.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see it. I could see that case being made.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more varied.
Oh
you
yeah.
know, in terms of, and the influences there too.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, I could see that.
I don't know,
definitely
that's
I mean,
like
like
a hot
Pixies Surferosa was a inspiration, if you want to call it, for Kurt Cobain. It's where,
Sure.
you hear that, the quieter verses, the louder choruses. Implemented that in Nirvana's work. Yeah.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Although I feel like Sonic Youth's best work was not exclusively, but predominantly pre-90s.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, from like Evol to Daydream Nation. Those three albums, Evol's Sister and Daydream Nation, are probably their best work. Goo is good. That came out in 90 or 91.
Yeah.
Before grunge broke.
Yeah.
But Dirty is not a bad record, but it's kind of a response to grunge in a lot of respects.
Okay.
But they've had other good stuff. But
well, there you go. I don't know what to say about this hot take. When people generally say this thing is better than that thing, unless it's like wildly out of pocket, I don't really know what to say. Like, yeah, I like a lot of those bands that they mentioned. So yeah, I don't know what to say.
Have you listened to Sonic Youth's Sister or Evol or Daydream Nation, Steve? You should.
I think I've tried. I think I've tried Daydream Nation.
Okay.
I think I've tried that. I don't know if it's my thing.
Sister, the songs aren't quite as long.
Yeah.
It's not as expansive a record. Evol's got a great vibe.
Well, maybe I'll get it. I don't know. Maybe I will. I've been also on all sorts of musical journeys.
You have. You've been going back to 90s stuff, I know, that you may have missed at the time and listening to it.
Yeah.
So why not go back to the 80s?
Maybe that's next. But I've tried. I'm so like hot and cold on Sonic Youth.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I'll listen to stuff, like, oh man, I really like this. Sometimes I'm like, I'm not really.
What do you think the barrier is?
I don't know. I don't know if it. I don't know. I mean, I sonically, if it's interesting to me.
All right.
That's kind of all. That's the only, I don't know, because like the same with Mudhoney. Some of it I listen to and I'm like, this is so skippable. And then some of it I'm like, same with Surfer. I was listening to Surfer Rosa the other day. And I mean, the Pixies, the thing about the Pixies is that, what's his face has even said, every song we approach with a completely blank slate, which I love. I think that's great because it just lends so much variety. But that also means that like some of them I'm really going to love and some of them I'm going to be like, this is so skippable right now. So yeah, I don't know if I'm into it, I'm into it. If I'm not, I'm not,
Have you listened to Doolittle by the Pixies?
I listened to
album after Surfer Rosa.
Yeah, I probably did like once or so, because I was going through a phase where I was just sort of like, jamming through their stuff. But, I don't know. Sometimes it, it takes me a couple and then I'll like listen to one random song and be like, oh man, I liked that. Let me go back and listen to some more of that. So yeah, I don't know. This sort of hot takes just sort of petered out big time.
It did. It was the music
just
talk.
Really petered out. Sometimes music talk is a lot of fun. Sometimes it's a take where I'm like, yeah, sure. There, I don't know. There's no there there.
No there.
So, anyways, that's gonna do it for this edition of Hot Takes. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We appreciate it. Till next time, we'll see you guys around.
Goodbye.